Good evening everyone. Welcome to Teach Me channel that is created to help students. Today we are gonna study listening skill, which is a course of semester 1 in the module of study skills. Content. Firstly we are gonna see hearing versus listening, then pre-lecture preparation for a good listener, and we will move on to some practical points. And finally we will see types of listening. Hearing versus listening. Hearing, the natural ability or an inborn trait that allows us to recognize sound through ears by catching vibrations. In simple terms, it is one of the 5 senses that makes us aware of the sound. It is an involuntary process whereby a person receives sound vibrations, continuously listening. Listening is defined as the learned skill in which we can receive sounds through ears and transform them into meaningful messages. To put simply, it is the process of diligently hearing and interpreting the meaning of words and sentences spoken by the speaker during the conversation. The pre-lecture preparation for a good listener. The process of active listening in a lecture should actually start before the lecture. Having noted the topics for the next lecture, consult your text or a reference source and browse through the relevant chapter. Browsing means paging through the chapter in about 5 to 10 minutes. Note terms in boldface or italics, the section headings, the charts and graphs, and any other features. When browsing through the reference chapter, your mind should be very active. Ask yourself the following questions. What does this term mean? How is it related to the other terms being presented in the chapter? What association does this concept have to the next? What is this graph saying to me? Just a few minutes browsing at the bus stop or on a car ride in the morning might be sufficient for 1 or 2 of your classes that day. Asterisk. The important point to remember is that you are simply browsing to familiarize yourself with the main ideas. You are not trying to learn the material in a definitive fashion. Asterisk. Sit at an acoustically comfortable distance. The front of the class. Studies show that students who sit at the front do better academically. They will be less likely to talk to other students or engage in any other distractions. Thirdly, the practical points. Be certain to obtain a syllabus for each subject you are studying. Check the syllabus each week and note the topics to be covered for each class. Prior to your classes, browse through the relevant chapter of your text to familiarize yourself with the topics, ideas, key terms, charts, and graphs. Just before the commencement of each lecture, scan your lecture notes from the preceding class. Sit where you can concentrate on the lecture and not be distracted. Front seats are generally better for distraction-free listening. Concentrate on getting the major ideas from each lecture. If boredom becomes a problem, challenge your mind and anticipate in what direction the lecturer is proceeding. Ask yourself how the topic being presented might have personal application to you. Listen for good examination questions. Lecturers have to ultimately set examinations, and the questions are most likely to come from their lectures. Ask yourself what are the 3 most examinable topics being presented in this lecture. And now let's move to talk about types of listening. Discriminative listening. Discriminative listening is the most basic type of listening, whereby the difference between different sounds is identified. If you cannot hear differences, then you cannot make sense of the meaning that is expressed by such differences, i.e., a person from one country finds it difficult to speak another language perfectly, as they are unable to distinguish the subtle sounds that are required in that language. Critical listening. Critical listening is listening in order to evaluate and judge, forming opinion about what is being said. Judgment includes assessing strengths and weaknesses, agreement and approval. Biased listening. Biased listening happens when the person hears only what they want to hear, typically misinterpreting what the other person says based on the stereotypes and other biases that they have. Such biased listening is often very evaluative in nature. Appreciative listening. In appreciative listening, we seek certain information which will appreciate, for example, that which helps meet our needs and goals. We use appreciative listening when we are listening to good music, poetry, or maybe even the stirring words of a great leader. Sympathetic listening. In sympathetic listening, we care about the other person and show this concern in the way we pay close attention and express our sorrow for their ills and happiness at their joys. Empathetic listening. When we listen empathetically, we go beyond sympathy to seek a truer understand how others are feeling. This requires excellent discrimination and close attention to the nuances of emotional signals. When we are being truly empathetic, we actually feel what they are feeling. Dialogic listening. The word dialogue stems from the Greek words dia, meaning through, and logos, meaning words. Thus, dialogic listening means learning through conversation and an engaged interchange of ideas and information in which we actively seek to learn more about the person and how they think. Dialogic listening is sometimes known as relational listening. Evaluative listening. In evaluative listening, or critical listening, we make judgments about what the other person is saying. We seek to assess the truth of what is being said. We also judge what they say against our values, assessing them as good or bad, worthy or unworthy. Therapeutic listening. In therapeutic listening, the listener has a purpose of not only empathizing with the speaker but also to use this deep connection in order to help the speaker understand, change, or develop in some way. Thank you for watching and good luck. Next session we will talk about new course. Stay tuned.